On this episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show, we talk about what the definition of an inhibited muscle is. We talk about some conflicting advice with other clinicians. And then we talk about how you can start a website, or maybe some tips that we would have liked to know when we were starting our websites. The Ask Mike Reinold Show. Helping people feel better, move better, and perform better. Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Ask Mike Reinold Show. We're up here in Boston, Mass. at Champion PT and Performance. Lenny Macrina, Dan Pope, Dave Tilley's levitating right now. I love that. If you're just listening to us, he just somehow levitated. I like that.
Edit my arms out.
That's pretty good. He's a levitator. We're here with our student extraordinaires at Champion right now. Jojo Coppola from Stony Brook and Travis T-Bone Stepp from University of Kentucky. Let's bust through this one. What do we got for questions?
Go ahead. Matthew from Australia. Is there a difference between an inhibited muscle and a weak muscle?
Inhibited versus weak muscle.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely. Inhibited is like down-regulated because you had an injury or some sort of like acute episode. I'd say weak is like structurally like can't lift load.
Like chronically not strong.
I could karate chop Dan and he could get inhibited real quick, or like, but like 3 weeks of not lifting one weight would be like you're weaker.
I give this example too, like you're running around the bases, you slide head first and you dislocate your shoulder. Like 2 seconds ago you were really strong,
you were straight,
and right now you're inhibited.
Yeah.
You know, so your cuff's not firing. And we know pain, inflammation, swelling, all these things inhibit the ability of the cuff to contract.
Yeah.
So I think the ability to produce force versus the ability to contract.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Also, on a similar note of semantics,
Wow.
I hate it when people are like, your glutes aren't firing. Like you don't have glutes that fire. Like you do. They're there. They're just not what we want.
They're probably just weak.
You know what I mean? That drives me nuts. People are like, oh, I can't fire my left glute. And I'm like not at all. Like you're just like laying on one side all day long. I think they're just like not properly working.
I could see that, yeah.
That's up there.
I think patients come to us a lot with that. Like,
it comes to us a lot with all that
sentence.
stuff, or my low back, my sacrum is out. All those funky terms are out there, but I think it's us to just kind of set people straight. And I like to talk about pain signs and all that, not about inhibiting a muscle.
Nice, all right.
Silence.
T-Bone.
All right, so Benjamin from...
Take it away, T-Bone. That's going to be his line. Take it away. Yeah, the spit. Take it away, T-Bone.
the first world is SeaWorld.
So as a student, I sometimes deal with patients who have been to many other healthcare professionals and have some prior experience with manual therapy and exercise. The fact that they have to go to so many different professionals already screams yellow flag. But can you guys provide practical tips on how one goes about making this patient trust your advice, although it may slightly conflict with what they have previously been told? In summary, how do you get your patient to respect your advice, although you may still be studying or young?
That's a great two-part question too, because we see a ton of people here at Champion that go to several other providers, even simultaneously. It's like their network of people that help them get through life, right, and optimize themselves and stuff. And I think you got to be careful with that. I mean, I've been in situations before where you see some really bad advice, or maybe even some things you think are not good or harmful for the person, and I've tried to kind of politely like interject and say like, maybe you shouldn't be doing A, B, C. Like I really think that this is what's going on, and oftentimes that person they've been seeing, they have a better relationship with or more trust, and you actually end up losing them by trying to conflict on what they believe. So maybe we focus more on building trust over time and becoming their most trustworthy person. Otherwise, I think you may lose the person.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is something important. Is I'm really not a big fan of healthcare providers like chopping each other's knees out, from each other. Like even if there is a difference of opinion, like I hate it when people always like this person doesn't know what they're talking about, or like this system doesn't work, or this one's the gold standard. Like all of us are still just in the process of learning and growing and figuring stuff out, and like all of us probably have a lot of stuff we do that we think is good that maybe is not the best. So when people come, and I think that's as a younger clinician, you can't speak in absolutes. You can't be like, this is going to get you better if we do X, Y, and Z, or like that doesn't work. Like
Right.
You know, isn't
Good
Charlie have like
point.
a really good quote with that? It's like nothing works for everybody, something like that.
Yeah.
I forget what it is, but
I think
like,
that's a
it
pretty
sums it up.
famous quote. I
Sums
mean,
it up.
I like Charlie too, but that's a pretty famous quote.
Sorry, my bad. I mean, I heard it from Charlie.
Love you, Charlie.
So I think
he's
that,
not listening.
So I think that's. I mean, I think all of us naturally kind of do it here. Is that we're always kind of like, yeah, like we think this is like the research suggests this, and this is what works for us. But like we'll try some things, we'll tweak as we go, and you never like put somebody in a box or like a pedestal.
Right.
Like it's gonna work.
Right.
You know.
I like that.
The other thing I think you guys miss is that you got to be an expert, you know, a specialist. Like the reason why I think you guys are so successful is you guys know baseball so well, right? So when people come through the door, they're like, "Wow, you're doing a million more things I used to do. This is crazy," you know. And the same thing with Dave. If Dave comes in, he knows so much about gymnastics. If I treat someone with gymnastics, it's going to look a lot different than Dave, and I'm going to be asking Dave a lot of questions, right? And I'll probably do a better job than maybe the majority of other physical therapists just because of that. If someone comes in specifically for CrossFit, I'm going to tell them a million different things they didn't hear before,
Right.
just because I've experienced that so many times. So what ends up happening is that twofold. For one, you might be given better advice just because you've had more experience, and two, you're going to really improve buy-in just because you know so much.
Pattern
Right.
recognition too.
Yeah.
So, to summary, earn their trust first.
Yeah.
I think that's big. Nice. Joe?
Mike from Salt Lake City. What would be your advice to someone about starting their own website? What would be your first step, and what is your recommendation for making it successful?
That's it.
I'm listening.
Lenny?
I am listening.
Lenny, let's go Lenny on this one.
Because
that's a
might
big
be
question.
putting something together. So I want to hear my expert coworkers and friends.
I mean, I super encourage everyone out there to start their own website. I always say I started my website for purely selfish reasons. It was just a way for me to articulate my thoughts and to push myself to continue learning. But that's not what you're looking for here. I mean, resources to start your website, heck, I'm trying to think. This is like a big question. Like
Digital marketer.
Yeah, well, digital marketing is good. That's not step one, though,
That's
bro.
part.
Oh,
that's like
sorry,
step.
yeah.
That's
That's like
step
just tools
100.
in general.
I mean, if you're starting a website, I think is it Pat Flynn from SmartPassiveIncome.com, I believe. I think he actually has like some things like click here to for help starting a blog, and he tells you about hosting and stuff like that. Like that's about that stuff, but that's the technical stuff. The more important thing is don't start a blog unless you want it to be your diary that you don't care if anybody reads it. Len, if are you going to do a diary-based
your
one?
diary.
Unless you want to do like a diary-based one where you're just putting your thoughts on paper. If you actually want people to read it, I think the number one thing you got to do is you got to be consistent and you got to dedicate yourself to doing it. I see so many people bust through with like tons of great articles for like a month or two and then just fizzle off and die. And trust me, if I looked at my analytics from the first couple of months on my website, I don't even know why I continued doing it. I did it for myself, but I mean, I remember when I hit like 100 people, read my article. Now if there were 100 people read my article, I'd be calling my hosting company and demanding a refund on what the hell happened to my website, right? But I mean, I would just say be prepared to be consistent.
I agree, man. I've been writing for like 8 or 9 years, and I think the biggest thing is that people just have to fail a lot. They have to just go and do it, you know?
I love it.
That's the biggest thing. I see so many people are like, I want to make a product, I want to do a website, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, I have these ideas. I'm like, great, do it. Because I think what happens is that you learn so much just by trying. And the other thing is, like, it's not going to be perfect. You just have to go and try. There's some better advice. Like, I don't know, if you're going to make a website and try to give just terrible advice, that's not great. So you try to steer someone away from that. But if something that you're passionate about and you'd like to try, then I'd say just go for it.
Right.
I used WordPress. Initially, I used a blogging website, and then I moved over to WordPress. I find different themes, different templates. I'm constantly tweaking. I still don't know exactly what I accomplish with my site, but it's evolving. Just like you said, consistency and just go for it.
I think big takeaway from what Dan just said right there is don't strive for perfection, just do, and you'll make it up in the long run. But if you're always striving for perfection, you're going to have paralysis by analysis paralysis by you know what I mean? Like you're going to overanalyze it. You can't look at our websites and say like, well, I don't want to publish a post until it looks that pretty. I mean, we're like Lenny will tell you, we're tweaking them daily. That's all we talk about.
Constantly putting out fires or talking about whatever.
There's a lot to it. So
I'll just summarize kind of like what you guys said together. But I think it's really important that you figure out why you want to have a website and what your goals are. Because I think that is, like you said, there's so many people just jumping in like I want to make money, I want to make a product, I want to do this. And it's like you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And I don't think that it's gonna accomplish a lot, and you're not going to stay motivated for the reason to do it.
None of us are doing this to make money.
Exactly.
We've been fortunate that we were able to monetize some of our stuff. But heck, we certainly didn't start this podcast as an example to make money. I mean, we're not making money off this. Like, to us, it's just what we're passionate about. And if you're passionate about it, you will make money off it one day. But that can't be your primary objective.
Mine was 100% to just help.
So.
Mine was just 100% to try to help the the sport of gymnastics and CrossFit and Olympic lifting just evolve with like some new ideas.
Yeah, you got to be passionate. So awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Another great episode. Go to MikeReinold.com, click on that podcast link, and ask away with some additional questions. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.